Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.
Collab album of the Reverso
Yeah.
band, the Melodic Line, and it's quite cool that you guys made another one. But I wanted to ask you first in the beginning, like, how did you meet with Ryan Keberle and Vincent Courtois? How did this group happen?
Well, actually, I met Ryan through Dave Douglas, the trumpet player.
Yeah.
I did a record with Dave called Dada People.
Dada People, yeah.
Yeah, that was a quartet recording actually, with Dave and Matt Brewer on bass and Clarence Penn on drums. Yeah, and while I was in New York for this recording, Dave asked me if I do an additional recording with other members that are also on his label. He has a label called Greenleaf Music, and he has this series for his subscribers that are where he does recordings with different artists that are all on his label. And so in this group, Ryan was present. He was playing trombone. So yeah, we just we just kind of hooked up and talked and we like I like the way he played and as a person and everything. So we started thinking about doing a project together, and we put together the first Reverso record, which was called Sweet Ravel.
Ravel, yeah.
Actually, the idea of Reverso is that it's a group that is inspired by the classical repertoire in a larger sense, and so we did a record inspired by Maurice Ravel's music, and to be more precise, the Tombeau de Couperin, which is a piece that he's written for piano, but also has been orchestrated for symphony orchestra. And so we did a first record together with Vincent Courtois, who's a French cello player, and Jack Ballard on drums.
Yeah, but what the idea was to have drums in the beginning, because like this one, the Melodic Line is without drums. So how did Jeff get involved?
Right. Actually, the first one Jeff was playing, and it was I think it worked really well. But I don't know. I think we did a concert or two with no drums, and actually we thought it was it worked well also.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very different vibe, but I think it gives the idea of to have this almost like chamber music vibe, even a stronger sense, to not have
I love that.
to not have drums. And so we decided to do the next one, which the latest one, the Melodic Line, without drums. So it's just Ryan, Vincent, and
it's nice because it's cello, trombone, and piano. It's like it's quite bizarre in a sense. Like the combo. I love it. Yeah,
it is. I think it is pretty unusual, but it is interesting to. To work with the sounds of trombone and cello, because they're kind of on the same register, but they have their, it mixes really well, actually.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it.
Two instruments.
Yeah, I love this different ideas. I played I had a quartet years ago with tuba, violin, guitar, and drums, and it's like these different instruments, like tenor sax and guitar, let's say, or piano and saxophone. It's kind of normal, but these other combos are so cool that I love that. But you mentioned like it's influenced by classical music, and I wanted to ask you, like, who were like the classical musicians? Did you start with classical piano in the beginning? Like
I did, yes. Right? I grew up in Germany, and I did like Yeah, actually, I started with classical music.
Sure.
You know, at my in my family, my parents did a lot of music. I mean, they're like, you know, good musicians, but on an amateur level, I guess. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not professional. They have real jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Now in Corona, this is even more
Yeah,
like
right. And so you know, they had a piano and a lot of other instruments, and so I started playing the piano, and I took lessons for classical music, but I started improvising almost right away at the on the piano. So it has always been kind of these two ideas, to have a classical background, but also you know, kind of like other influences, I guess, you know.
But who are like the pianists? Let's say if we're talking now improvisation, you remember like the first records or jazz piano players that you heard? Like, I don't know, was it Bud Powell or who was it? Like that kind of blew your mind.
Let me think. I know at home we had my parents. They had a record of Oscar Peterson. Actually, it was one of the first I think I listened to, and then they also had a record of Chick Corea and Kind of Blue.
Yeah, sure.
You know, they had like, you know, the big. I mean, jazz was not the primary music that they listened to, but those were like the records they had, and those were the one I was attracted to.
Yeah,
immediately, you know.
Yeah,
and yeah, and I think maybe one of the big moments that really made me want to go deeper into jazz and improv and all that is that maybe I was 12 or so, or 13. I listened to Elvin Jones and his band. They played in the town I lived in, and yeah, I just loved the energy, and yeah, it was great. It was like you could really feel the freedom in the music, you know.
That's the Youngblood band, like with all the new cats, like
yeah.
The
other were kind of young musicians. Yeah. I can't remember the other musicians. I mean, that's such a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really a great experience. And yeah, and then I started, you know, to take you know, kind of like private lessons with jazz pianists from the region. And I started, you know, playing standards and learning about harmony and, you know, and all that stuff. Before that, I was just kind of improvising for myself, you know, by ear.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is not a bad way to start, I guess, you know.
No, definitely, yeah. No. Definitely. But what made you decide to move to France then, to Paris? I mean, when was that?
Well, actually, I was I was thinking about just doing 1 year at the Paris Conservatory and then move to, I don't know, Berlin or New York, or, you know, some place like that. And well, you know, I did 1 year, and I started playing with a lot of musicians here already, you know, the first year. And I also met my wife. So, you know, it seemed like there was a lot of reasons to push the date, you know, of leaving later on. And, you know, it became 2 years and 3 years, you know, and I was like, 20 years, I'm still here, man.
Yeah, that's funny. No, it's cool. That's quite cool, you know, a German piano player in Paris. Like, I love that.
I know, it's kind of original. I don't know there's many German musicians in France, actually. I know some, but
not too many. Yeah, probably.
No, not too many. Yeah.
But you mentioned New York, like also, and you know, I've listened to those duos you do dialogues with. There are so many musicians from New York in there, you know, like, I don't know, Lagerlund and Gilad Hexelman and Mark Turner. I love Mark. And I wanted to ask you, how did this idea happen, and how do you make it? Because it's basically just one song, one composition by each artist. So how do these things begin, and how did you start that?
Actually, I started the dialogues. I think the first was maybe Mark or Larry. Grenadier. Actually,
yeah.
at that period, I was touring with the band of Ibrahim Maalouf. He did two acoustic records. One is Wind, and the other is Khartoum.
I love that.
And we did quite long tours actually in Europe, and so it was Mark Turner on tenor sax, and Larry was playing bass, and Clarence Penn on drums. And actually, while I was touring with the band, I had a lot of friends, calling, "Hey, can you give me the number of Mark? I want to take a lesson with him, or Larry, or So I have a recording studio here in a suburb of Paris, and actually, I told, I don't know if Mark or Larry was the first one. It might have been Larry. And so I told Larry, instead of doing a lot of private lessons, I can organize like a master class or something like that, because I don't think he wanted like to spend 10 hours, giving private lessons. So he came to the show. So I kind of set up a master class. I said, who's interested in a master class with Larry, like 2 or 3 hours one afternoon before we were playing that night in somewhere in Paris. And actually it was like 40 people showed up,
Wow.
Yeah, it was really great. And anyway, before the recording, so Larry came a little bit before, because we were thinking, we could just kind of jam a little bit before, and so we had the idea, we could record a song.
But you actually did just one song.
Yeah, and like a video, because the idea was to film the masterclass in the beginning, and so I had a video person there and the sound engineer and everything, and I was like, man, let's just record a song. We had like 1 hour before the masterclass or something like that, and so we recorded a song, and I put it on YouTube, and I don't know, it just kind of seemed to work really well. People dug it, and and so the next masterclass, because since it worked really well, I asked Mark if he wanted to do one too. So Mark did one, and I told my man, do you want to record a song before? And he was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. And so at the beginning it was very, very. I mean, it was really spontaneous, and then actually over the time I've played with a lot of other New York-based musicians, or I know them because I met them at festivals, and so it was pretty easy to kind of set up a series of master classes with people I know, and I know that would be
interesting.
I know a lot of students that would be interested in going to a masterclass. So it kind of became the cycle and the concept to ask the musicians to come in 1 hour early.
Super.
And record and video one song. So the idea was that I would write a song usually. Sometimes a song that I thought was fitting for the artist, or I also wrote music, especially for the people that I knew would come.
Yeah.
And the idea was to do 3 takes and no edits, and because we're in the same room anyway, and the idea was to create something that was fresh, a live setting, just kind of like a jam. And I didn't I kind of like the idea to push myself to compose a lot of music instead of playing standards, which would have been an easier option actually for most people. But I mean, all these cats, they can read anything anyway and play with everything. So it was a great experience to push myself to write a lot of music, and to just kind of be very on the spot at a certain time. I mean, I kind of like the urgency of that,
it's incredible.
You have like 1 hour, usually not even 1 hour, and you have to, you know, record a new song, and it helped me a lot to just get more focused, you know, with the time.
But with all these players, like it was always like that, like with Scott Colley and Greg Hutchinson and Lage, and it was always wow, that's so cool, man. And it's still ongoing, like the process. I mean, you're still doing it.
I mean, okay. I have the thing is I had to stop with the corona. I can't do master classes now. But the idea is to continue to you know, once we can do that again.
That's so
and
cool.
I think it's, I mean,
beautiful.
I don't know how many I did. Over 30, I'm sure.
Wow, bro.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah, it's a fun experience.
Yeah. No, I love the concept. You know, I think nowadays it's so important that musicians take self-initiative in this sense that, you know, because less and less also venues and promoters. So if you do that, that's so cool, you know, for the scene and for everything. Like, that's
and actually I did some concerts with these with some of the musicians in a duo setting, you know, because of the video, and you know, and it's a nice experience for me too.
Yeah, but you mentioned composing for these guys, right?
Yeah.
And, I wanted to ask you, like, so even when you compose for whatever project, do you always compose for the musicians? Like, let's say,
I usually
you know,
do, yeah.
If you know it's going to be, let's say,
I usually,
sorry.
I usually, when I compose, I usually have in mind who's going to play it. I think
that's really important.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, of course, they are just, you know, in the history in general, they are just great great songs, great compositions. But I mean, in my setting, I usually keep in mind who's going to play it. So some in this dialogue series, some of the pieces I wrote especially for the musicians. Some I used compositions that I had that I knew would kind of fit, you know.
Yeah. But otherwise, what is your process? Let's say for this dialogues series, do you start from scratch, or like do you have like a book of, you know, some people like have ideas. I mean, that's me. You know, I walk on the street and like I do and like, oh shit, I have to record this. Then I come home, write it down, put it in a map, and when I start the project, then I take those ideas and start developing on them. So how
I do collect ideas. It could be you know, just when I'm kind of you know, playing the piano and improvising or whatever. And if you know, if I come to something, oh, this is kind of cool, I'd usually record it. And maybe use it as a starting material to get, you know, to get something going. But it could be also if I have an idea kind of on the street, or you know, traveling, I usually record it kind of, sometimes just singing it on the iPhone, you know, and recording it, and then I come back to it later. It's easier to just you know, get up in the morning and get to the piano and say, oh, today I'm going to recompose.
Sure.
You know, which is kind of, I mean, which is kind of rough. It usually has to be more, it kind of, the music usually comes to you by itself, you know. I think.
No, but, and you need a project, right? I mean, at least like all the musicians I've spoken to, all of us are the same. Like, you know, it's like, okay, you get ideas, but you will not write the composition just like, okay, now I will just write a composition. It's usually, like you said, you need like a deadline. Okay, shit, we have a March recording. I need 9 compositions.
That's definitely important. I mean, it's sometimes it can help to set these deadlines kind of yourself to, you know, for example, these dialogues and masterclasses were deadlines for me, you know.
That's so
I really had to, you know, I knew, oh man, day after tomorrow I have this thing.
I
really have to write something today. You know, it definitely helps to have deadlines.
But speaking of composition, I wanted to ask you one thing. You know, when I listen to your music, especially like, you know, since let's say Pocket Rhapsody, you have so many odd meters, and I wanted to ask you how you approach that, because you make it sound so natural. Like, I don't know, those Noir and Blanche, I think it's like 15, and then the triptych, I think it's in 7, part 2, and it's so natural, and what you improvise and play on, it sounds so natural. But how do you practice this, or how do you even write these things, like both?
Wow, that's a good question. I think it's just by doing it a lot, like a lot of things. I mean, I've been working a lot with people that are a lot better than me in odd meters.
Okay, that's a good way to learn. Yeah.
You know, yeah, I remember, for example, I mean, I'm thinking especially about 2 musicians. One is Nelson Veras, who is a guitar player from Brazil. He's really killing in this. And also the Belgian drummer Stephane Galland. He's he's really good in this too. And so yeah, I worked with them a little bit, and just kind of start to get me going. And if you do it a lot, you just kind of start to hear melodies in 5/7 and all that, kind of almost in a natural way, like you would think as a 4/4 or 3/4. Which is, you know, what we're more used to in Western Europe anyway. And yeah, so I mean, I did for a period work, you know, in a rational manner. Okay, now I'm going to play 5/4 or whatever, you know. I don't do that much anymore today. Probably because just I'm getting more lazy. I don't know. But anyway, now when I mean, there's some time signatures that are kind of still difficult for me. But I mean, if it's just a 5 or 7, I have to admit I don't really have to.
It's already natural.
You know, I don't have to think in a rational way how to play over it. I just kind of hear it naturally, and I think that's why it kind of sounds natural also. I don't want it to sound like I'm playing an exercise. I kind of like applying an exercise.
Yeah. No, I'm just asking because, you know, like I've spoken, I don't know, to, you know, Chris Jennings, the bass player. He's, he lives in Paris as well, I think. And, he, you know, he played with Dafer Youssef and his compositions, the oud player. And, you know, like the songs he has, it's like 31/16 or, you know, 27/16. And I had a lead sheet of 2 tunes and I was like, damn, man. So, you know, how do you feel? Okay, you can subdivide it. And how do you make yourself natural in a 27/16? And then, you know, he said, like, yeah, you just have to play it so much that it becomes natural. But it's still, for me, it would be so hard. It is still, I mean, I guess, to skip a beat, and it's like you do that in a matter of seconds, you know. So that's why I'm asking how you do the odd meters. I'm really interested in that. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, well, I think you can work on it in a very rational way, you know. Just kind of work with the metronome for a long time, and I mean, if it's odd meters complicated, like you said, I definitely have to do that, you know. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm not really. It's not something that I'm really trying to push for myself. You know, to try to compose in very weird
intentionally.
I mean, I'm more and more just kind of writing songs, I guess, you know. But if it comes to me naturally in 5 or 7 or 9 or 15, I'll just play it like that. But it's not like, okay, now I'm gonna try to do 23, and you know, it's not like that. Some people are, and it can be great musically, but for me, it's just to improvise over it. I just want to be comfortable and not to have to count, I guess.
No, but I got this idea with you, because it's like, for me, it's really, you have a lot of repetitive motion, almost like, you know, Steve Reich sometimes go. I listen to it and I love that. It's like Sting, you know, like his songs. They're like, you know, 5/7, and then in the end you just like, what? Oh wait, this was in 7, you know, like people don't even know that it's in 7. So I love it. But speaking of like all these projects you do, I mentioned it earlier, the Pocket Rhapsody. And this was kind of also your debut for act music, right? The first one.
Right, yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, how did the connection with Ziggy Loch happen with act music? When this did occur?
Actually, I recorded the first Pocket Rhapsody. I think it was in 2016 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a label, so I thought it was something that would fit kind of the catalog of ACT. And I sent him the music, and he said, "Yeah, it's great. I really like it, but I never sign on people that I haven't seen live yet."
Okay.
And so it's just like, well, you know, I have this concert coming up in Germany, and I think it was the WDR festival in Cologne or Dortmund or something, I don't know. And which I did as a solo, actually.
Wow, beautiful.
And yeah, he didn't say anything, but he came to me after the show and he said, "Yeah, it's great. We're going to sign the contract." And
wow, beautiful. That's so cool. Yeah.
It was probably better. I didn't know he was there.
Yeah, definitely.
It might have gotten me nervous or something. But anyway, it was that was the beginning, I guess.
Yeah.
And
how did you decide for that lineup? You know, I mean, I know Ben, and I'm such a that's how I found out about your music. You know, because I saw that Ben is on that record, and I love his playing. I'm such a huge fan, and I checked it out, like, man, and then I checked the rest, what you did with Ibrahim and everything, and your stuff. But then also Justin, you know, he's one of the craziest drummers right now. And how did you get this third lineup together?
Actually, it was an album that I did a lot by myself in the studio in the beginning. And so, you know, I was checking out, you know, the Moog synthesizers and, you know, playing bass with one hand and Rhodes and piano on the other one. And so I decided I wanted to do a record where I did a lot of things myself, just kind of. And so I thought, okay, let's do something where I'd play the bass and and you know, just to be kind of more free, I guess, you know, in the moment to decide to where I wanted to go. And I don't know, actually it was just kind of spontaneous because I saw Justin, I think it was with Ambrose or something.
Yeah, probably. He played with Ambrose. Yeah.
And so well, you know, I'm not a shy person, and when I dig a musician or something, I just go up and, you know, and say, I really like it. You know, would you be into recording or something? You know. And so he was really positive, and, you know, sent me the music, and he really liked it. So he said, "Yeah, let's do it." And so I set up a recording day in New York.
Oh, okay.
And I flew there pretty much just for that, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so we recorded with Justin and Ben one day in New York, and I just kind of created. So it was very rough, I guess, still, and I just kind of created the rest around it. You know, I added strings and I added stuff.
Yeah. And how did you get Ben into it? I mean, like, did you know him from before, or?
Well, I really loved his recordings.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just kind of hit him up, and I knew I was going to come to New York to do the session with Justin, and I could definitely hear guitar on some of the tracks.
Yeah.
And so I just you know, I just shot him an email, and he you know, he told me, what do you know, sent me some of the stuff you did already, and, you know, and what you want to do. And so he was okay. So yeah, so we just did this one day thing in New York. It was fun.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's such a nice record because it's almost like prog rockish sometimes for me. I don't know, you know, like all these things.
Yeah.
I love it. It's
yeah,
so cool.
It is.
And it's so different than the new one, the Pocket Rhapsody II. I wanted also to ask you, like, how do you choose musicians actually for your projects? Because this is like a completely different lineup now for the second.
Yeah. I guess I choose musicians by in general, I like musicians that kind of have their own thing. you know, they kind of have their own voice on their instruments, but musicians that are also willing to play mine, you know, which is not always compatible, you know. You can be a great musician and you do your thing and it's awesome, but you know, some people, they don't want to, you know, do a recording session for other music and, you know, whatever. So I'm you know, I'm looking for musicians that I dig musically what they do, but I think they could also fit in the project that I'm doing. And well, for the last Pocket Rhapsody II album, the musicians are basically the musicians I did the tour with, because I couldn't have Justin and Ben and everybody in Europe, you know, for one-shot gigs and whatever. So I did the concerts with the musicians that are on the record, basically.
Oh wow, okay.
You know, so Stephane Galland, he played all the live gigs. Julien did also all the latest live gigs, and and Eric Vloeimans, the Dutch trumpet player, I played with him. Also a lot of duo concerts.
Oh really?
And I think we just work really well together, you know, musically, and he's a great guy. I also like to work with musicians that are cool off the band.
Yeah, that's important.
You know, and because, you know, you spend a lot of time when you're on tour, you know, traveling, and so I just kind of want to be with people that are cool.
Yeah, that's really important.
That's also definitely a criteria today. So yeah, I mean, that's how the second Pocket Rhapsody II lineup kind of came together, and so it was recorded in here at my studio, and we did a live thing, you know, on the same in the same room. So and then I added the choir, and then Eric and Robinson came back to do some backgrounds, you know.
Yeah,
but at the beginning it's really live, totally, you know, which was fun, you know. We just kind of spent 2 days playing the songs, and I mean, the idea of Pocket Rhapsody is well, for me, it's almost instrumental pop, you know. It's not really, you know, you can hear it. It's not really straight ahead jazz.
No,
you know?
No. Yeah, sure.
But it's definitely the project where I like to kind of produce the thing in I just, you know, compared to, for example, the dialogues, they're like, you know, no edits, and, you know, just very, you know, what we did in the moment. But intimate, you know, Pocket Rhapsody as a project for me is something that is a lot more produced. You know, I have the chance to have a recording studio here, so I can spend time on post-production, you know, editing synths, you know, having people come back to do backgrounds, whatever. And it's something I really enjoy doing, actually. You know. So for me, Pocket Rhapsody is the project where I really do that. You know, I just take the time to produce the thing and add whatever I want. You know, and I'm really totally free also in terms of where, you know, in terms of style, where I want to go. If I wanted to really sound rock, I dig rock, you know, or pop music. So, you know, I don't have a problem doing, you know, going in that direction, you know. So, yeah, that's the band where I can experience in that way, you know.
But you mentioned studio production work, right? I mean, I have a studio as well, and then I do stuff, and it's so hard. When do you decide it's enough, or you know, when you're at home,
it's never ending. Actually, to tell you what, sometimes I produce stuff and then I go back to where I was because it's just over the top, or, you know, I mean, that's the danger with you know, having too much time now with the Corona thing, you know.
I mean, you know, I started working also on a new project, like some electro beats and stuff, guitars, and, you know, the adding moogs and synths and everything. And now suddenly you have like 19 tracks already. I'm like, what?
I know.
So, you know, when is the end? Like, and then I start taking things out. So it's quite hard to do that, right? How do you do that? Like,
well,
when do you say to the baby, okay, it's enough?
It's not easy. I kind of try to keep in mind that I wanted to work live still, you know.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah.
Kind of. I mean, during the recording, I can, you know, even if I add stuff, I still have in mind I need to work it live, to have it work live, you know.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps me to get, you know, not over the top, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I still, I mean, in this project especially, I like to, you know, to just kind of produce it the way I want, because I have more time, and it's stylistically is something where you can, you know, yeah, just, you know, add some stuff on the productions. You know, you mentioned, you know, Moog and synths and Rhodes, and I can add a second piano if I want, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever. So
I just wanted to ask you also for the Pocket Rhapsody II. You basically, I saw that you chose old compositions and you redid them. And I just wanted to ask you, it's like, how do you approach that? Like, how do you rearrange an old composition to make it sound interesting for you? Like, how did you approach this? First of all, the bands are bigger. The band is bigger also, but still.
Yeah. I mean, some of the songs we played over time, and they changed kind of naturally.
Yeah.
When playing them on stage, and so since we've been playing them, they still were kind of in my mind. And what I usually do, if I in a general matter, if I want to rearrange something, is that I strip the composition to a strict minimum, which can be melody only, or you know, something like that. And I really rethink the thing from the top, you know. And
that's a cool approach.
I mean, with some of the songs, I think it works. And you know, I've been doing it also with the dialogue sometimes, you know, taking music, you know, compositions that, you know, that already existed, and you know, you'll see, okay, man, this is totally different actually.
Yeah.
You know, and some of the songs on Pocket Rhapsody, I like that too. So
yeah, I saw that, like the one you did with Seamus Blake, and then like on this one it's completely different. You did one with, I think, Dave Douglas also, that Blanc. Yeah. I love that. Right. It's so different. But Frank, I wanted to just ask you one more thing, which is like you've done so many records now as a band leader, and how would you describe yourself as a band leader? And you seem to like leading bands. How would you describe that, like compared to being a collaborator or a sideman? Is it heavy for you, like to kind of lead people or have everything on you, or? Well,
no, I mean, I like to lead people in everything, and that is connected directly to the music, I guess. Yeah. What I like a lot less is having to organize all this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I do records because I don't know, it just I have the need to create, I guess, you know. Yeah. As
I know exactly what you mean.
And as a person, and so I just decided for myself that I'd keep, you know, creating and writing music for my own projects, even if some of them are not, you know, gonna do, you know, very big tours, are gonna be beneficial financially.
Yeah.
Because I just kind of have the need to to create it. I know it's something that, you know, makes me want to get up in the morning. So, you know, it's something I need to do, I guess, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like being the sideman for projects, but I noticed for myself that it's not enough for me.
Yeah.
You know. that I need to to kind of be free to create whatever I want, and you know, I mean, in that way, I like being a band leader, and I like to spend time in the studio to record, and I like the whole process, from writing to mastering and the studio. I like the whole thing, and I like to play with my music on stage, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
And, yeah, I mean, of course, there are some hassles when you lead a band, because you need to find gigs, and you need to organize, or you need to find somebody who will find gigs for you, and everything.
Then it kind of weighs off, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that is not very pleasant, I think, for me, because also you have to kind of, I mean, there's a part that is promotional, there's I mean, some artists are very good at kind of selling themselves. It's not something I'm very good at doing, I guess, but so I try to doing to do it in a more musical or creative way in the long term, like the dialogues and that I put on YouTube and stuff. And I'd rather do that than and it's not a criticism, then
no, I know what you mean.
Record 10 seconds on Instagram every day. Okay, today I work this, and I mean I find that tiring. But
me too. I cannot do that. I'm sometimes like watch these guys, and I'm like, damn, how can you? It's cool that they do it, but I just also can't.
Cool, but I know it's I don't know. I'm just too lazy for that, I guess. I just.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's like
there's good things in being a band leader, and there's some things that are kind of tiring, I guess.
But being a side person, I just wanted to ask you about this collaboration with Ibrahim Maalouf. That's like I love his music, and especially the jazzy records you guys made, the more acoustic ones. How did you start playing with him? When was that? I mean, he's quite a big name in. How did you?
I started playing with him when he wasn't a big name already. Actually, I'm probably the one in his current band that's been there for the longest time.
Oh wow.
I met Ibrahim through another band where he was invited as a guest, and I don't know, we just kind of hooked up, and he and after the gig, he asked me, I'm putting this band together, and would you want to be part of it? And that was like, I don't know, maybe that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
I guess. And so at the beginning we it was not the same band as now, and but he already knew kind of what he wanted to do, and and since I've done most of his projects, I think.
I love that. And you have so much space also, like in the music. I hear like it's quite
it's I mean, depends on the projects. Definitely in the acoustic projects, where we work together also on the arrangements and stuff. So it's been a great experience. I mean, I learned a lot working with him over the years. And the venues just kept getting bigger and bigger,
That's quite cool, right? I mean, in a way also.
It is cool. It is weird sometimes when you come back from a tour playing in front of at least 5,000 people every night, and then you play a gig in a club in front of 100 people.
But
it is nice. I mean, I like doing both, because you can play all kinds of music in front of 5,000 people, But, and I also like music that you play only in front of 100 people, because I like that kind of music too,
it's more intimate.
It's nice to be able to do both, even if sometimes it can be hard to organize your
own stuff.
agenda with that, because Ibrahim, he plays a lot of gigs. I mean, usually, now everything is on pause, but usually it's a pretty demanding job. You're on the road a lot. So all these days you can't play with your own bands and work on your own stuff. So it's always I think I'm not the only one, but it is a bit of a compromise. I know people that chose early on to do only their stuff, and I guess it's kind of like a gamble. It might work, it might not work. So I don't know. I've always preferred, I guess, playing and and actually a lot of people I met through Ibrahim also.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
I worked with later on, and so it's. But I also had to refuse gigs under my own name because I was already on tour with Ibrahim, and which was sometimes tough decisions for me because they were like nice gigs with my band, like so it's it's not always an easy decision.
Yeah, sure. No, cool. Yeah, cool, Frank. Thanks so much.
Pocket Jazz.